Hi everyone, my name is Kristone Capistrano. I'm an artist from Blacktown in Western Sydney, and today we're going to learn how to draw a portrait. We're going to start off this lesson by learning how to draw outlines, especially two important techniques. First step is angles and also proportion. Make sure that the eyes aren't too big or too small, that they're just right. So let's go. So have a range of pencils that you can use from, even a mechanical pencil if you have. Also, very important, have an eraser at hand in case you make a mistake, and also for shading and for highlights, also a sharpener. There's nothing worse than a blunt pencil for drawing, so very important that you keep your pencil sharpened. For portraits, you can draw live, but for me, I prefer to use a photograph, so don't forget to have a printout of your photo. Now, whenever I start a drawing, a portrait, I usually just start to feel for the paper in the face. Like, where's a good place to start the drawing? Do I want my face here or here or here? Obviously I want it somewhere in the middle. And at the same time, one thing that a lot of kids do when they draw is they usually tend to draw small. So instead of using the whole paper, they will draw a small face like this, that size. Obviously we want to do a bigger drawing here, because the bigger the drawing is, the larger the drawing is, the more details you can use. Now, details are the thing that makes a drawing look better. So to start off, I'm just going to start blocking in the general shape. And my advice here, we're just starting, right? My advice to begin with is to try to find the diagonals. So diagonals are lines that are straight or diagonal. Okay, so there's lots of different angles. Lines can go many angles. So when I'm looking at this drawing, I'm trying to find where the lines are, where the diagonals are. So here I see a diagonal, one there, one there, one there, one there. So I'm basically dividing the drawing into different lines, different shapes, different diagonals. One way to draw this cheek, it can be a bit tricky sometimes. So what I would do, I would get a pencil and I would line it up against the area that I want to draw. So I realized that the cheek goes like that, not like that, not like that, not like that. It goes like that, yeah? So I would then take that pencil, move it along, and then hold my hand there. It's like, oh, okay, it goes something like that. Double check that that's a good diagonal line is I would hold my pencil again there and compare. And if it moves, then that's your opportunity to correct it. So one thing I like to do, even though I am quite happy with this cheekbone section, is I like to step back and have a look at the drawing, and with my pencil or with my eyes, just try to go through the line a few times, following the course of the line, that the construction or that the shape is close enough. Yeah, close enough to the image. It's something that you can readjust and make better as you go along. But especially in this early section, it's very important that we get the sort of structure of the face somewhat close as possible. So sometimes when you have a photograph, lines are very clear, and places that are tones or places that are super dark, they're not so clear. So instead of copying this perfectly right now, so maybe some of you guys call this shading, I would leave the shading to the end. So over here, I've just sort of left lines that are very sort of, how would you say, unclear, and that's okay. Where there's clear lines, let's draw it. Where there's unclear lines, just leave it out for now. We can return to that later. So now I'm starting to notice I'm gonna draw super lightly, super softly, to the point that maybe you can't see it on the camera, but we'll see. Okay guys, so as you notice, I'm starting to do a lot more shapes. So you see that the eye here, it's almost visible. You see the triangle of the nose. And the reason I'm doing this is before I color it in, before I start to shade it in, I like to have the structure of the face or the outlines. And you know, we all remember coloring in primary school, in kindergarten. We all love coloring in, we all love shading. But before I start doing all these shades, I want to get the structure and the outline first. Is it like a circle? Is it a triangle? Is it made up of different rectangles? So guys, at this point, I'm starting to draw the second eye, and I'm 100% sure that the proportion and the spacing isn't perfect. So another technique to do is to think about is something called proportion. So I'm looking at this drawing here. Now, I'm trying to figure out how many times does this eyeball, this eye, fit in the head, yeah? Because I'm trying to figure out this space here. So I have to then measure this, make sure that the space is the same. And that's where the second eye begins, okay? Now I have to ask myself, how big is this section of the eye? Is it larger, is it smaller, is it the same? So I would do the same process. So then I would make sure that this eye here is a bit longer than here, yeah? So at this point, we talked about proportion, so the way that this eye fits into different sections of the face. Now, the next thing that we're going to do now is using longer lines. Everybody have a look at this drawing, this photograph over here. Imagine, if you can imagine lines going across a drawing, like straight lines going down. So I'm going to draw over my picture here. I'm going to draw a line over here. I'm going to draw a line below this eye. And I'm going to draw a line at the end of this eye. So I'm going to draw a line here, 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 here. Just grab a ruler or a piece of paper and draw a line down. I'll draw another line. And this is really important because I'm going to try to line up this line with the lines that we use in this drawing over here, okay? What am I drawing next? It's the mouth, right? And I realized that his mouth or his lip lines up with that corner of the eye. So I would then do a line here. See that line? It's okay, we can erase it later. I will then find out, because we did the lining up, that this mouth, this lip, should be somewhere around where the line is, okay?